This is the future.
Harrow Prime is a few days away from being released, along with the biggest story quest of Warframe this year, which is the new war. I know you are excited about Harrow Prime, so let me share with you my experience playing this Warframe for years now. In this video, you will get to see how to level up your Harrow Prime in 2 minutes or less solo and what builds to use. Then, we will go over each of his abilities and how to utilize them well. And lastly, we will discuss my recommended builds for Harrow Prime that is both enjoyable and effective in real missions. Take note that we will go over those builds without the Helminth system, and of course, those builds that make Harrow stronger and fun to play with using some subsume abilities. So, let's get into details and start this video. Once you received Harrow Prime, the first thing you need to do is to max rank him to 30. Oh god, squad leader, that's the dumbest thing you ever said. Of course, Captain Obvious, everyone knows that. Okay, stop insulting me. I get it, that's a dumb sentence and I'm just kidding. Of course, you will level up Harrow Prime after you get him, since even though you can unlock all his abilities now even at lower levels, you still want to max rank the Warframe to max all the capabilities of his abilities. The best way to do it is to find an Equinox friend and let him taxi you to normal exterminate missions in Grineer nodes in Sedna. Or, you can go to Sanctuary Onslaught and help everyone get affinity, including yourself. But the best way to rank up Warframes right now in just 2 minutes or less, is still the carpet bombing method in the normal star chart in Telsto Saturn. It's an exterminate mission wherein you just need to use Kuva Branwa to carpet bomb enemies and use the Savage Silence Helminth ability to replace the first ability of your Warframe. The Helminth system is a blessing for solo players honestly, as it does not just make Warframes better, but it gives us something to make our life easier while grinding solo. One of these benefits is allowing us to level up our Warframes easily while doing missions solo. But squad leader, this leveling method is just for high level players that have all the neat stuff to level up their Warframes, like the primed sure-footed. Well, almost for high level players, as you don't need primed sure-footed really for this method. As an alternative, you can go with the regular sure-footed mod, then add a cautious shot on Kuva Branwa and you get 2 instances of resisting that knockback effect from the weapon. It may not nullify the effect like primed sure-footed, but it works well for those players that don't have enough login to Warframes to get primed sure-footed. Next, we discuss all of Harrow's abilities, but let me be straightforward with this one. The first one is called Condemn. This is a multi-purpose ability that allows you to crowd control targets by binding them in place. They can't move when they are hit by Condemn, which gives you more survivability, and allows you to easily hit them on their heads. It does give more survivability to Harrow, since every time you hit an enemy with Condemn, you gain shields, and this is how you can keep Harrow alive with adaptation plus shields, before we even make use of the shield gating mechanic. His second ability is called Penance, and this is some sort of a buff ability for Harrow that gives multiple benefits. One is that it gives a boost in reload speed to guns and attack speed to melee weapons. It also gives out lifesteal to Harrow and also fire rate for guns. All of these benefits at the expense of the shields he accumulated. One cast of this ability will sacrifice all of the Harrow's shields to gain all these buff. The safest way to do this is by casting his Covenant ability first to gain invulnerability, and then cast Penance. Then cast his first ability to regain shields. This is how you get the buff without dying. The same goes with his third ability, Thurible. At the expense of draining energy, you get a buff wherein each kill you get will replenish Harrow's energy. Headshot kills will reward you with more energy. You see, it's kind of sad that Thurible doesn't work with Gloom, and I hope that Digital Extremes will do something about it before releasing Harrow Prime, because when you think about it, Gloom will be busted with Harrow Prime. I'm sorry, I need to be careful with my words. Gloom will be good and not broken with Harrow Prime. Just imagine having infinite energy for Gloom with Thurible. You can just go bonkers with his power strength and achieve 95% slow from Gloom, plus lifesteal. Just replace Penance and you will also have to Condemn, which gives you over shields. That's the perfect survivability for Harrow Prime and makes him a complete Warframe. But then again, I doubt that Digital Extremes will do this, but I will just keep on dreaming. By the way, the safest way to cast Thurible is by using his Covenant ability. Just like Penance, you will need that invulnerability, as Harrow is helpless when you are channeling Thurible. Well, unless you have its augment that gives you damage reduction, which is, by the way, not worth it in my opinion, since you can't do anything other than just spin your chains while enemies are hitting you. Honestly, in terms of augments, I think that the only noteworthy is the Lasting Covenant, which extends the critical buff of your 4th ability each time you made a kill with a headshot. If you do this, however, you will take Covenant's ability to make Harrow invincible for a couple of seconds, which is quite scary for those who value Thurible and the Penance buff. Lastly, his passive gives him higher overshields, granting him a maximum of 2400 overshields. So those are his abilities. Just to sum its usage for the last time: use your first ability for crowd control and to gain shields, then use his Penance to gain fire rate, attack speed, reload speed, and lifesteal buffs at the expense of shields. More shield means more duration for the buffs. Also, use your Thurible to replenish energy, but before casting both abilities, you will need to make sure that you have Covenant to give you invulnerability for a couple of seconds, then critical buff once the invincibility expires. Just rinse and repeat the process and you won't die with Harrow Prime. When it comes to build, I usually go for high range with my Harrow since his best abilities are better with range. Take note that this is a non-Helminth build and, we won't mind the form account here since we don't know yet what polarity will Harrow Prime will be equipped with. For now, it's safe to say that when Harrow Prime arrives, then you will spend less formal if you know what mods to equip him. However, take note that these are only suggestions coming from me who played Harrow for years now, and it's up to you to follow it or take a couple of advice from this video to form your very own build. You don't need to follow all the mods you have seen on your screen. A balance build minus efficiency will do. I'm talking about not equipping any efficiency mods, by the way, and not making your efficiency negative. After a couple of years of using Harrow solo in Star Chart missions, I find that the best way to make him survive is to keep it balanced and simple. You don't need most of the corrupted mods to make Harrow great and even simple. Even the Umbral mods aren't necessary. They are just luxury items. Having a health mod for Harrow is a personal choice since he mostly excels with the shield gating mechanic. Why overextended though, squad leader? To save up some mod slots. Usually, we will go with stretch and auger reach so we don't end up getting negative stats in our builds, but I sacrifice those to get mod slots for important mods like natural talent. This is a quality of life improvement for all abilities of Harrow. Most of his abilities have slow casting speed and it's great to have a boost, especially against high-level enemies in Steel Path missions, so you have enough time to recuperate while getting hoarded by crowds of enemies. You can also take this with a team in normal and Steel Path Star Chart missions, but the amount of support will be limited. You can support your team with both Covenant and Penance because they are affinity range oriented and they can't be raised by range mods. Probably, you might need to tweak a few mods in the build and it depends on your team's need. Honestly speaking, the buffs of Harrow are great, but in team composition, the only thing that is interesting for the team is the critical chance, invulnerability, and energy restore. Most of the time, I hang out with players who need my energy buff in a long endurance run while camping in one spot. That is why I don't need that much range, as my mates won't run around the map. The critical chance is bonkers also, as it's a flat-out 50% critical chance bonus, giving more red crit to already monster crit weapons. It pairs well with the Lasting Covenant augment and I get to use this with Thurible in long endurance runs with my friends in the past. Sadly, endurance runs right now for me are bitter tasting and I grew my knack to see level cap enemies in the game. I'm contented with Steel Path levels right now since they give you rewards that you can still get while doing level cap survival runs. But what about the challenge, squad leader? There's no challenge in Warframe's level cap missions right now. All you see are you big numbers killing enemies. Challenge was taken away when Digital Extremes scaled down the bullet sponginess of enemies. Well, nobody is complaining except for those hardcore level cap players in the past. Before you leave this video, there's another important build that you must learn with Harrow Prime, and that is the Eidolon Hunting Team build setup. Harrow is one of those meta Eidolon hunting warframes because of two things, his invulnerability, and his critical chance buff. The good part is, it's all in one ability. All you need for this build is high efficiency, low duration, and a lot of power strength. And of course, I try to fit in natural talent in my Harrow build always for that casting speed. In team composition, energy isn't a problem here since you have your team 3 more players to give you energy. Take note that idle and scream duration is about 3 seconds plus wave travel time. So you need at least 4+ seconds of invulnerability so you can negate all that magnetic damage. The 9 seconds critical chance buff is also enough for me, especially at the end wherein your team will finish off the Eidolon. Those crit numbers help a lot, especially if your main DPS is not well equipped. Now, other speedrunners can quickly take down those limbs that you might need to trim down the duration. Some prefer 3 seconds, which you can do by getting rid of the Constitution mod. Just use what works for your Eidolon hunting team. So that's my full experience using Harrow for a couple of years. I don't usually get into nitty-gritty details as I prefer a mix of experience and details, and I hope that you learn something from this video so you can apply it to your brand new Harrow Prime this coming December 15th. Squad leader, you almost forgot about the subsumability. Well, Thermal Sunder Harrow is a meme turned into fun times killing elite sanctuary enemies. Also, pillage is best in the slot for Harrow as it replaces condemn so well. But instead of just crowd control, you now can strip not just armor but also shields from enemies. Honestly, right now, pillage is the only subsumability that I will recommend if you are one of those players that value the effectiveness of a Warframe in a mission. But if you just want to have fun, then just try the subsumability that you want and go bonkers. We are days away from the new War update and Harrow Prime. I hope you have fun with this Prime Warframe, and I hope the new War quest will be a blast for everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Squad leader signing off.
This is the future.